Okay, I'm going to call our hearing to order this evening. It's hearing for docket number 2021-0063 by American Water Company's request for approval for a general rate increase. My name is Jay Griffin. I'm the chair of the Hawaii PUC. I'm joined tonight by my fellow commissioners, Commissioner Jennifer Potter, Commissioner Leo Suntian. Tonight's hearing is being recorded and will be later transcribed by a court reporter. A copy of the recording will also be available on the Commission's YouTube channel. Just another reminder, anyone wishing to testify, please indicate that in the chat feature and we'll call you in order. We also have time for participants on the phone who wish to testify. I don't see anyone on the phone yet, but we will go to folks on the phone second after everyone in the WebEx. State law requires that the Commission hold a public hearing whenever a public utility proposes a rate increase. This evening, our hearing is on docket number 2021-0063. Purpose of the hearing is for the Commission to take testimony, not to answer questions about the application, but testifiers can always contact Hawaii American Water Company or the Consumer Advocate if you have questions for them. Public hearings focused on the general rate increase request by Hawaii American Water Company, also referred to as HWC or applicant. The requests are described in detail in their application filed on August 18th, 2021, and the hearing notice for this hearing. In summary, the applicant is requesting temporary rate increases to its user rates and standby charges. For residential rates, for single-family residential unit rates, the applicants request a 21.18% increase in the monthly service charge per dwelling for single-family residential units from $67.08 to $81.29. Multifamily residential unit rates, applicant requests a 21.18% increase the monthly service charge per dwelling from $57.08 to $69.17. For commercial rates, for food service operation rates, applicant requests to increase these rates by 21.21% per 1,000 gallons of water used. For non-food service operation rates, the request is an increase by 21.18% per 1,000 gallons of water used. For public authority other rates, applicant requests an increase for these by 21.18% per 1,000 gallons of water used. And for public authority dwelling rates, applicant requests an increase by 21.18% as well per 1,000 gallons of wastewater treated. The scope of our hearing this evening is limited to the issues listed in the outset that are included in HAWC's application. And the ground rules for this hearing are, we'll provide the applicant 8 minutes to discuss their application. I'll provide Dean the Consumer Advocate 8 minutes to explain their role in the process and present any testimony. And anyone else wishing to testify, we will keep a 5-minute time limit. Testifiers may not give all or any portion of their allotted time to another testifier. Commission always takes written comments by email. You can send those to puc.comments@hawaii.gov. Please reference docket number 2021-0063. And if you do testify at the beginning, please identify yourself, state whether you're testifying on behalf of an organization or as an individual, and please state whether you support or oppose the applicant's requests. And with that, we will begin with testimony from HAWC. And again, if you do wish to testify this evening, please identify yourself in the chat and we'll keep a list. Thank you very much. I think Mr. Mansfield, you'll be speaking on behalf of HAWC.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Please proceed.
Thank you, Chair Griffin, commissioners. I appreciate the opportunity to participate in this public hearing. And I have a presentation tonight, a brief presentation that should help you better understand and explain why we're asking for a rate increase at this time, what's driving that rate increase, and what measures we've taken to control costs. My presentation will start by introducing Hawaii American Water and the communities served. I'll then look to provide some background on the rate application. We'll take a few minutes to look at the rates proposed and in place presently. And then I'd like to talk in a little detail about 4 very important investment projects. So I'm going to start with the first slide and introducing Hawaii American Water. We serve about 35,000 people here in East Honolulu. We're a part of American Water, founded in 1886, and it has a 130-year history. So it's a wonderful history and a very good company. I want to take a look at who we serve, and we do, of course, serve the Hawaii Kai community and Port Lock. And under an agreement with the City and County of Honolulu, we also serve Kuli'o'o and Paiko. We treat the wastewater generated from the city customers in those communities and pump it into our system, and we provide wastewater treatment service. We own and operate the system in Hawaii Kai and Port Lock. And although not part of this rate application, Hawaii American Water also serves the Manalani Resort, providing wastewater service, and Waimea community on the Big Island. My next slide will introduce you to a staff. I have 14 local employees dedicated to the operation of the system in East Honolulu. I want to note that 4 of those individuals are actually residents of Hawaii Kai. 2 graduated from, one graduated from Kaiser High School, and 2 of my staff grew up in Hawaii Kai. So really proud of our group, dedicated professionals. All of our operators are licensed in the state of Hawaii. I want to turn attention to the application itself and note that although we have managed to not request a rate increase since 2011, and in addition, we are able to, over that 10-year period, invest $32 million into improving our plant and infrastructure. That makes our facilities more reliable, big plus for the environment, more robust, but that money also generated jobs in the community over these past 10 years. It's a pretty good number of jobs. And I want to just note that we're asking for a rate increase because we anticipate continuing to invest in this system, and we have experienced operational cost increases, primarily labor and power. I'd like to show you a breakdown between the operating costs and the investment. And this rate case is really being driven by our investments. And we feel that it's very important to do this and continue it to provide the level of service that we believe the Hawaii community deserves. So 83% of our increase is due to our investments, 17% due to the increases in operating costs. With that, let's take a look at the proposed, current and proposed rates. And I want to emphasize, as Chair Griffin said, those are proposed rates from us. I listed the monthly rate together with bi-monthly. As our customers know, our residential customers know, we bill every other month. So you can see both numbers there. But just most importantly, to draw your attention to, again, the proposed rates. What's going to take place in this application is the PUC is going to do a very open, transparent, and detailed review of our costs and our investments, together with the consumer advocate. The consumer advocate represents the interests of our customers, and the goal is to, in the end, come up with a rate that is deemed fair to our customers and also fair to the utility. My next slide, Chair Griffin went over these rates in his introduction. I've summarized them there, and of course, they're in our application online. Let's move on to the 4 projects I want to talk about. I'll start with our photovoltaic system, and it's kind of neat. It's a 260 kilowatt array of solar panels, and in the midday hours, this array actually completely powers our treatment plant. That's made a significant dent in our energy usage. We've, of course, contributed to reduction in fossil fuel consumption, and as a result, our energy costs are less. My next slide shows a really important project, again along the lines of energy conservation. Our treatment plant depends on biological assimilation of waste. The biological treatment part of the plant is the heart of the plant. It's also its most intensive energy user. In 2020, we completed an upgrade of this process. We replaced equipment that dates back to the 1980s, and we were able to use, fortunately, some very efficient equipment that's just become available over the last several years. And as a result, we've reduced energy from this process. We've reduced the energy usage of this process about 30%. And just as an example, we in our project, we replaced an old 150 horsepower blower with a way more efficient 75 horsepower blower. So it's a great project as far as energy savings and as far as continuing to provide treatment. My next slide, also a interesting project. Recently, the City and County of Honolulu issued a directive that all sludge would be going to the H-Power facility for incineration. Our plant, like all treatment plants, produce residual sludge. In order to meet that directive and meet the requirements to have our material incinerated in H-Power, we constructed and completed this dewatering facility. All dewatering means is we take our liquid sludge, we remove water, turning it into a solid material that can be disposed of. Previously, we disposed of this in the landfill. We now, with our new facility, incinerate it in the city's H-Power facility. We're saving landfill space, and it's a plus for the environment. And lastly, a project focusing on disinfection. Disinfection is the last step in our treatment process before discharge into the ocean. Previously, we had used chlorination, which involved the handling, receiving of chlorine, a hazardous chemical. We now use ultraviolet light to accomplish disinfection. The result being that our operators are not handling this material, safer environment for them, safer for the environment overall as well. Then let's take a look at the next slide. I just want to talk briefly. Our application includes a request for a power adjustment factor, and that would mean that our service charge would vary in proportion to our energy costs, our utility energy costs. And I just want to point out that couldn't go either way. I've seen our energy costs, unit costs for energy go up and down in my 20 years at Hawaii American. And then let me just mention the next steps, and I'm sure that the consumer advocate will also go over those. At this point, we're going to begin a process. We'll settle on a schedule for discovery and discussion. We'll work with the PUC and the consumer advocate, as I mentioned before, to look at what we've been doing, how we've spent our money and the projects we've invested in, with the overall goal to come up with a rate that's fair to both our customers as well as utility. So with that and the final slide, let me again thank the Commission for allowing me to participate. And I want to thank also the consumer advocate for participating. We have all commissioners here at this meeting. I think that's great. Thank you very much for your interest. I just want to mention to our customers that they're probably wondering when they'll see a cost increase. And I believe that as we work through that process, that new rates could be set 6 to 7 months from now. And with that, it's a hui ho. Thank you very much. Thank all for participating in this hearing, giving up their evening. Hui ho.
Thank you, Mr. Mansfield. I saw we do have Ms. Christy Adams identifying to testify. Sorry, we're going to have Dean Nishina go first, but just as a noting that we have you on here. Anyone else, please type into the chat. Thanks again. Dean, Mr. Nishina, please go ahead.
Good evening, Chair Griffin, Commissioners Potter and Ascension, and members of the community. My name is Dean Nishina. I'm the Executive Director for the Division of Consumer Advocacy in the Department of Commerce and Consumer Affairs, also known as the Consumer Advocate. The Consumer Advocate represents the interests of customers in public utility matters by advocating for reliable utility services at reasonable customer costs. I'm here this evening to listen to the community's comments regarding the matter of the application of Hawaii American Water Company, or HAWK, for approval of rate increases and revised rate schedules and rules. As has already been discussed by Chair Griffin as well as Mr. Mansfield, HAWK is seeking an increase of about $2.1 million in their revenue requirements, or an approximate increase of about 21% over its current rates. As both Chair and Mr. Mansfield already discussed, their HAWK is essentially proposing to increase all of its existing rates, both monthly and volumetric rates, by approximately 21%. To help the community understand the Consumer Advocate's role, the Consumer Advocate will be taking an independent look at HAWK's request for a rate increase and assess whether the request is reasonable. We will accomplish that by having our analysts, which consist of engineers, accountants, economists, and other analysts, look at the application, do a detailed review of what HAWK has provided in its testimony, supporting exhibits, and other data. We will then conduct discovery, which is where we are allowed to ask questions, information requests, where we seek further data and information to evaluate the company's support for the requested rate increase. Then, after our analysis is done later in the proceeding, we will submit the results of our analyses and recommendations to the Commission for their decision on the requested relief. Tonight, however, it is the community's opportunity to provide their perspectives on the requested increase. So I encourage the public to express their opinions and concerns, if any, to the Commission regarding HAWK's proposal. This will assist both the Consumer Advocate and the Commission in our work. If you do not wish to speak tonight, please send your comments and/or concerns by mail or email. As we move forward, please feel free to contact the Consumer Advocate's office at any time to share your thoughts, concerns, and questions regarding this or any other utility matter. For those of you who may be joining by phone, our contact information is P.O. Box 541, Honolulu, Hawaii 96809. Our email address is dca@dcca.hawaii.gov, and it looks like PUC attorney has already typed in that information into the chat box for those of you who joined by WebEx. Thank you, Kira. With that, thank you for the opportunity to offer these comments.
Thank you, Mr. Nishina. Yeah, and just as he said, our staff attorney has typed in the contact information for the Consumer Advocate's office. You'll see that in the chat. So with that, Ms. Adams, please go ahead. Oops, sorry, I think you're on mute. Do we need to unmute Ms. Adams, or does she need to? It's my co-host.
Mute me? Okay, sorry. Is it okay? Okay, this is my first time on WebEx. I usually am on Zoom. I have to get into my Microsoft Word file because I don't have a printer. So I'm in opposition to the proposed rate increase. My name is Christy Adams, and I've lived in a townhouse I own in Hawaii Kai for the past 40 years as of this December. and I oppose the current rate increase proposed by Hawaii American Water, and also oppose the current methodology through which the company bills its customers. I would like to complain about the manner in which Hawaii American Water, a company, bills its customers. So the company uses an arbitrary system which presumably assumes that all commercial customers use the same amount of water every month, that all residential customers use the same amount of water every month, that all multifamily dwelling customers use the same amount of water every month. And for the record, I consistently use less than 1,000 gallons of water a month, and that's for 11 months of the year, and up to 2,000 gallons a month in 1 month of the year, which I can prove by showing you my statements from the Honolulu Board of Water Supply. Nevertheless, Hawaii American Water Company charges me the same amount as it charges other multifamily residential units that are occupied by 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or even 8 people living in the same unit, and people who most likely are not as conservative in their water use as I am. The water use of multifamily units occupied by 2 to 8 people is far greater than mine, so it is unfair for Hawaii American Water to charge me the same that it charges the dwellers of other multifamily residential units. The rate structure of Hawaii American Water should not be based upon arbitrary categories of buildings, but upon the actual usage of water by the customers in each category of building. Hawaii American Water should charge me monthly based upon my personal usage of the wastewater system, not by my neighbor's usage of the system. There is plenty of water to use and none to waste was the slogan of the Honolulu Board of Water Supply when I was growing up here in Honolulu in the 50s and 60s. I value our natural resources. As such, I take special proactive measures to use water very conservatively to ensure there's plenty of water for all, as well as to minimize my personal expenditures. Yet, Hawaii American Water penalizes me for my proven water conservation measures. Other utility companies, electricity, gas, water, bill their customers based upon their actual usage of the service. I hereby propose that Hawaii American Water charge its customers based upon their actual usage of water. And if Hawaii American Water refuses to do this, it should at least institute a special program in which anyone, especially senior citizens like me, can submit our statement from the Honolulu Board of Water Supply to Hawaii American Water and have the company reduce the dollar amount of our monthly wastewater billings to reflect our actual usage of both water and our local wastewater system. This is only fair. As a semi-retired senior citizen, I cannot afford to subsidize everyone else's wastewater usage. Therefore, if Hawaii American Water does not bill me based upon my actual usage of its system, I have no other alternative than not to pay my bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Adams. That was the only person we've had sign up in the chat so far. Anyone else wishing to testify this evening? Either type into the chat or just turn your camera on or just your audio.
Thank you, and I will leave the meeting now if I may. Is that okay?
Yes,
Thank
thank you,
you.
Ms. Adams.
Okay.
One more try. Anyone else wishing to testify this evening? Okay, with that, we're going to conclude our public hearing. Following the hearing, the Commission and the Consumer Advocate will continue our review of the applicant's requests. As noted in the notice of public hearing, a motion to intervene or participate in this proceeding must be electronically filed with the Commission by November 29th, 2021. The process will conclude with the Commission's written decision. This concludes our public hearing this evening for docket number 2021-0063. Thank you all for your attendance, participation. Have a good evening. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.